Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? Ladies and gentlemen, fight night begins right now with our opening contest taking place in the junior welterweight division inside of 4 rounds. About to approach the blue corner at this time, here is Nelson Morales.
So Scranton, Pennsylvania's Nelson Morales makes his way to the ring with a record of 3-5, and Curran Morales is no stranger to facing not just undefeated prospects, but hot prospects coming fresh out of the amateurs as well.
This is what Nelson Morales does. He's a gamer. He said he got into boxing originally because he thought it was cool, and he's ridden it up to this point. In his own words, he said he had 2 days' notice for this fight, but he wants to make an impression against this top prospect tonight.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, his opponent approaching the red corner, here is David Lopez.
Well, the 19-year-old David Lopez is being hailed by some as the potential next star out of the Bay Area, and recently David Lopez had some time in the ring with the man who maybe is passing him the torch potentially, Mr. Andre Ward.
David Lopez did spar with Andre Ward. He said it was an incredible learning experience. 2-0, 2 knockouts, only 19 years old. He calls this opportunity a coming out party, new beginnings, and a dream come true.
And we take a look at the tail of the tape, brought to you by Adidas. You see David Lopez, just 19 years of age, as we reference some good dimensions for the weight class, 6 feet tall. This one scheduled at a catch weight just above the welterweight limit. We are ready for our opening contest. So let's send it back up to the center of the ring to Mr. Matt Compitello.
Ladies and gentlemen, this junior welterweight contest takes place inside of 4 rounds. Our ringside judges are John Basile, Anthony Lundy, and Marcel Varela. Miguel Rosario is the referee in charge of the action. Introducing the competitors first, competing out of the blue corner, de la República Dominicana, hoy vive en Scranton, Pennsylvania. For the Dominican Republic, now residing in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Él es 5 pies de 10 pulgadas de alto y pesando con 149 libras 4 onces. Standing 5 feet 10 inches tall, weighing in at 149 pounds 4 ounces. Con un récord de 8 peleas, he is a veteran of 8 fights. Te presento Nelson Morales. And his opponent, competing out of the red corner, from Oakland, California, standing an even 6 feet tall, weighing in at 148.6 pounds. He enters this bout with an immaculate record of 2-0, both of his victories by way of knockout. Here is Dynamite, David Lopez. We go to referee Miguel Rosario for the instructions for both competitors.
All right, both people giving you instructions in the locker room. Obey my command at all times. Touch gloves. Let's get to work.
So we're set to go for our opening contest. 4 rounds in the junior middleweight division. David Lopez from the Fighting Lopez family. His great-grandfather was a fighter. His father, who is in his corner here tonight, he was a Golden Gloves champion as well. His older brother, Daniel Lopez, was an accomplished amateur as well, and now David has the torch, and as we mentioned, has caught the eye of, well, current everyone from Floyd Mayweather to now Lou DiBella.
Absolutely. David Lopez was signed to Mayweather Promotions. According to legend, he was harder to match up than Tank Davis, so it's hard to find an opponent. Well, enter Nelson Morales, who has experience. He's fought in this venue before, so Morales has that experience edge against the young phenom in David Lopez.
Yeah, some of our viewers might recognize Nelson Morales for his most recent fight against Calvin Davis. That was earlier this month in Newark. And, of course, back in 2022, he dropped a decision to Giovanni Marquez, the son of Raul Marquez. That fight received a lot of press, of course, because father on commentary, son on the broadcast. A historic occasion. But now David Lopez going to work and digging to the body with a right hook.
I spoke to Team Lopez this week. I said, describe your boxing style. They said it's simple. It's a combination of Andre Ward and Roy Jones. Well, that's pretty good right there.
The other guy didn't even punch yet. Not even one time.
We mentioned Nelson Morales, of course, taking this fight. He said on 2 days' notice, so not only little time to prepare, but probably not a ton of time to study tape, at least what is out there on David Lopez. Lopez going back to work, another right hook down along the belt line of Nelson Morales. Good start here for the 19-year-old out of Oakland, California.
And early on, you have to like the poise of David Lopez, the stance, moving his opponent backwards. He looks very comfortable already for a 19-year-old.
See Nelson Morales getting a little vocal as we enter the final minute of the opening round here. Morales, a retired police officer, has 3 children, and in speaking with him, he didn't go so far as to say, hey, I'm boxing for the money. However, he did say, listen, this is an important part of my income. I'm doing this for a reason. I'm not taking fights on 2 days' notice just for fun.
Morales did mention, he says, I have obligations outside of boxing.
Right.
But at the same time, we all know this, the more success you have in the boxing ring, the more high-profile fights you get, the bigger your paycheck can be. So he knows that he needs a win. 2 fights ago, he said it was a must-win when he fought here. He's had 2 losses since then, so this is definitely a must-win for Nelson Morales.
Another right hook to the body from David Lopez. That was his best shot in the opening frame, which comes to a close. Round 2 underway. A good start for the youngster David Lopez from Oakland, California, now residing in Las Vegas, Nevada. He spends his time between both places, and we mentioned some of the mentorship that he received from Andre Ward as Lopez connects on a right hook, and I think that one shook up Nelson Morales. Saw a little stutter step from Morales after that right hook. But a good response here from Morales, again, on just 2 days' notice, showing that he is willing to get into a firefight if necessary.
I asked Nelson Morales his fighting style. He said, I am a boxer, but I will brawl to play it up to the crowd. And that seems to be the situation here at Sony Hall.
Well, one of the fun things about grassroots boxing is that you will find characters like this who really lean into the entertainment element and the close confines of the crowd. We've seen Morales talking to his opponent, talking to the crowd at times, and now kind of hamming it up a little bit and getting involved into a little bit of a brawl when maybe it isn't the best idea.
You'll see plenty of characters. You'll also see a lot of fighters who just have a passion for the sport, and that is the case of Nelson Morales. He said boxing is his passion. He loves it, and he calls it a welcome distraction. He needs something to keep him motivated. He needs to be distracted, in his own words, and he's found that in boxing. So he just loves being in there.
Another right hook connected there from David Lopez. That one got a reaction out of Lopez's corner. They liked that shot. Saw Lopez try to go back down to the body with the left hand. Quite often in these southpaw orthodox matchups, you'll see southpaws, particularly taller ones, use that left hand to the body kind of in the same way you would use a jab, sort of as a rangefinder. It's not always a power shot, but it's a scoring blow, and particularly against Morales, who's absorbed some good body shots already. It's just adding to the pile.
You look at Lopez and you wonder, why was he so hard to match up? Well, he's only 19 years old, but he's tall for the division, 6 feet tall. He's rangy. He's a game fighter who moves forward. He's sparred with the likes of Andre Ward, so he has learned from great fighters. Everything is there for a can't-miss prospect.
Another left hand comes down the middle from Lopez, and Morales on pure defense for the latter half of that round as round 2 comes to an end. Now we take a look at some of the action from round 2.
Before this fight, David Lopez said his prediction is he will win if he hits his marks. He was hitting his marks just there in that replay, working the straight left hand well, but also setting it up with other punches.
Round 3 underway. It's been a dominant start, as expected, for David Lopez through the opening 2 rounds. The undefeated 19-year-old prospect. And a 3-5 Nelson Morales tasked with trying to give Lopez some rounds here. And current rounds are important for a fighter like Lopez at this stage in his career. You know, we're doing a lot of talking about the hype that surrounds Lopez right now, but it is important to remember that not only is he 19, but as decorated as he was as an amateur, he's ranked #1 in the nation, he was 34-4. So there still is a learning process in terms of fighting bigger, physically stronger, older fighters in there. That's part of this maturation process for Lopez too.
There's definitely merit to getting experience under the bright lights, in packed houses, on fights that are televised, shown on streams. There's definitely a lot of value in that, and it looks like David Lopez is willing to put in the rounds. The question is going to be, what is Nelson Morales going to give him? Because this is a 4-round fight, so it might be decision-making time for Nelson Morales. If he continues at this pace, it's unlikely that he's going to win a decision. Is he going to open up more and possibly go for it? But by doing so, maybe play into the young David Lopez's hands.
See Lopez looking for that right hook up top.
They just said he was here before.
Morales seems to have that scouted. He's had that left hand carrying a little bit higher, gluing it to the side of his head. I don't think he wants to taste too many more of those hard right hooks up top.
I'd like to see him jump on the guy, though.
It's a good point you made, Curran, about kind of the decision that Morales now has to make, because you'll seldom find a fighter who at the outset of a fight doesn't want to or doesn't think they're going to win. But at the same time, for fighters like Morales who make a living testing prospects and fighting on a regular basis, there is a little bit of a business decision sometimes later on in the fight as far as how much of a risk are you willing to take. And Morales, you see, puts a little combination together just a moment ago.
It's the famous Mike Tyson saying, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. You may have a plan to box or brawl. When you have a fighter as explosive as David Lopez in front of you, those plans could change.
Well, you saw when Morales opened up there in that sequence, Lopez was able to come in between those shots. land a couple of scoring blows as round 3 comes to an end.
Here we see David Lopez finding his range, working the jab well. But we talked about the decision for Nelson Morales, and if you look at that highlight, he decided to get in the face of David Lopez, make it an uncomfortable fight. If nothing else, turn it into a brawl, change the momentum, and make it a tougher test for the young David Lopez. This is only his 3rd professional fight, and he may not have seen a fighter as tough as Nelson Morales, who does have rounds and fights under his belt.
As we enter the 4th and final round, David Lopez, prior to this fight, had never been out of the 1st round. So that in and of itself, a good learning experience for him here tonight. And you're right, Kurt, albeit a low bar, Morales has presented the toughest test of his career thus far. And a good shot connects there from Morales. Big sweeping right hand. It looked like a clash of heads in the midst of that as well. A bit of a messy sequence. A brief little scare for David Lopez as he takes another right hand from Morales. Morales giving him good, honest work here in the 4th.
And you saw Morales moments ago kind of wave at Lopez, bring it on. That usually means a fighter got hurt. That might be the case here in the 4th round.
See a little bit of swelling on the right eye of Nelson Morales. That eye slowly closing. But you'd have to think that we're close enough to the end of the fight that it might not immediately impact the result of it. But Lopez right now measuring Morales along the ropes before Morales wisely just grabs a hold.
Remember, David Lopez said, "I will win if I hit my marks." Well, a natural mark for the straight left hand is the right eye of Nelson Morales, and you can tell that he has hit that mark tonight.
Lopez has spent many hours, many rounds in the gym with veterans like Kareem Mayfield and Aaron Coley, whom his father trained as well. So what he hasn't yet experienced in live action against veterans, he's certainly getting that work in the gym. Inside the final minute of the 4th round. And Nelson Morales, to his credit, letting his right hand go more than he had all night long. So we asked the question, hey, is Morales going to give it an honest effort in the 4th round? I think we could safely say he is.
He's absolutely giving it an honest effort, Morales is, and that's actually advantageous to David Lopez in his career, because if you think about the test that this young man needs at this point in his career, it's fights like this versus fighters like Nelson Morales. David Lopez before this fight said, "I've been training for this moment since I was 5 years old." And if you can get through a hard-fought fight and a hard opponent on this stage, you can use that as a confidence builder as you continue in your career.
Well, that was a beautiful step back counter left hand that David Lopez landed with about 14 seconds remaining in the fight. And that may be the lasting image of this one, maybe the best shot of the fight from Lopez to close this one out. And we'll look back at some of Lopez's handiwork from the final round.
You see the straight left land, and then Lopez smartly tying up. We saw that as the old Floyd Mayweather trick, right? Hit and don't get hit. In Mayweather's case, he was an orthodox fighter. He'd throw the long right hand and then grab. That stops your opponent from being able to counter. Lopez seemed to get that trick early. Seems like a good trick to learn.
Well, those days in the gym as a 17-year-old out in Vegas at the Mayweather Boxing Club, maybe picked up a thing or two from Floyd in that respect. A good showing for David Lopez overall.
Lopez's father, Chris Lopez, who was a two-time Golden Gloves champion, he also serves as David's trainer. He said, I gave him the nickname Kid Dynamite. That was after Mike Tyson. Eventually, as David Lopez entered the pro ranks, they dropped the kid, and now it's just Dynamite. And that seems to actually go well with what we're seeing in front of us. He's starting to get his man strength. This is no longer a kid, even though he's 19 years old. He is most likely going to improve to 3-0, and there's not going to be many fighters lining up to say, hey, I want a piece of David Lopez.
No, the risk-reward calculus, you'd have to say, for fighters at an appropriate level for David Lopez, a fighter of his stature, his dimensions, who's 19 years old, there's not a ton in it for you, so credit to Nelson Morales for stepping in on short notice and giving David Lopez some good work here tonight. And this is a fight that might not produce too many highlight reel moments for David Lopez, but the experience, the rounds, getting in there with a durable guy, all of that I think is good for Lopez at this stage in his career. That way it's not just a succession of knockouts.
It's good to go through the motions of a big event. We mentioned that Lopez is from Oakland, so he flew cross-country for this. He weighed in for this fight. He went through the official particulars, the rules meeting, everything. And it's good to get that routine under your belt as you continue your career, and that's going to be valuable experience for David Lopez.
Well, looks like we are set to make this one official. The fighters are ready. So let's send it back up into the center of the ring to our ring announcer, Matt Compitello.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 4 action-packed rounds, Judge Anthony Lundy scores the bout 39-37. John Basile and Marcel Varela score the contest 40-36 for your winner by way of unanimous decision, David Lopez.
So David Lopez improves to 3-0 as a professional. Another impressive performance inside the ring. And one of the reasons why people are so excited about Lopez isn't just what he does in the ring. It's his ability in the media as well. David Lopez has been doing interviews since he was 10 years old, both with local press and on YouTube. A very bright personality, and in just a moment, we'll hear from him. Our current Bhatia is standing by with David Lopez.
I'm here with the winner, David Lopez. David, only 19 years old. You improved to 3-0. How would you assess your performance in there?
I give myself a B-. I think I could have worked behind my jab a little more and, just work behind the jab and line up on my punches. He was a tough opponent, so I was trying to be the first to stop, but he's a tough guy, and I told my hat to him.
When I spoke to you before the fight, you said, I'll win if I hit my marks. From our vantage point, it looked like you were hitting your marks with your straight left hand. Was that an important factor to your win tonight?
Most definitely. Throwing the straight left. Me and my dad worked on landing the jab a lot and going down to his body because we knew he was a tough opponent.
We know that you're from Oakland. You've trained with the likes of Andre Ward. How important was that experience, sparring with top fighters like Andre Ward tonight?
Sparring with people like Dre just gave me an extra confidence boost. He's one of the greatest pound for pound, and him being in my camp and helping me get ready was definitely an advantage for me, and I appreciate Dre.
You improved to 3-0 now. We know that it's been said it's hard to find you an opponent. What do you want to do next?
Get back in the gym, get sharper, and whatever comes next, I'll be ready for.
David Lopez, only 19 years old, improves to 3-0. Corey, back to you.